Rain slashed sideways across the Brooklyn Bridge, carried by a wind that howled like a wounded animal. Streetlights flickered, dim through the heavy fog. Midnight drowned the city in silver-gray shadows. Liam Carter tightened his grip on the small bundled figures pressed against his chest. His 6-year-old twin daughters, Lila and Nora, clung to him, half asleep and shivering under his worn coat, the only thing keeping them dry. He had just finished another late shift and was trudging home through the downpour, his shirt soaked through, his body aching from exhaustion. Another long night. Another reminder of how fragile life had become since the fire that had taken his wife. He might have kept walking, head bowed against the storm, if not for the blur up ahead. At first, it looked like a trick of the rain, a pale shape at the far edge of the bridge. Then it sharpened into something chilling. A young woman standing barefoot on the outer railing, her arms spread slightly for balance, her soaked dress clinging to her thin frame like ghostly skin. Liam's heart spiked. She was going to jump. "Dad?" Lila's small, sleepy voice stirred against his shoulder. "What's she doing?" Liam's chest tightened. "Stay close, girls," he whispered. Then, louder, fighting the roar of the wind. "Hey! Don't!" But his warning came too late. The woman wavered, her foot slipping. She pitched forward. Liam lunged. With one arm, he clutched the twins tighter to him. With the other, he reached, desperately, his fingers closing around her wrist, just in time. The momentum wrenched him forward, slamming his knee against the iron railing. Pain shot through him, but he held on. The twins cried out, startled, their little hands digging into his coat. The girl screamed, dangling above the black churn of the river, her free arm flailing, her hair whipped wildly across her tear-streaked face. Rain stung Liam's eyes. His grip slipped once, then steadied. "Don't let go!" she sobbed. "I've got you!" Liam shouted back, his voice raw with effort. "But you've got to stop moving. Please don't fight me." Every instinct in the woman's body screamed to thrash, to claw her way out of the grip, but some part of her heard him. She froze, trembling violently. "I didn't want this," she cried, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean to." "It's okay," Liam rasped. His arms burned. His knee throbbed. Rain filled his mouth, his eyes. "You don't have to end it here." Her hand began to slip in his. Panic surged. "Daddy!" Nora shrieked. "She's falling." "Hang on, sweetheart," Liam gritted. "I won't let her." With a desperate surge, he crouched, gently setting the twins onto the wet walkway, his coat still wrapped around them. "Stay right here," he ordered. Their frightened faces nodded back at him, identical and pale in the rain. Now, with both arms free, he pulled again. Inch by inch, he hauled her upward, her sobs tearing through the storm. "I can't," she cried. "I can't hold on." "Yes, you can," he shouted back, straining against gravity itself. "Don't give up." Finally, her bare foot caught the railing. With one last heave, Liam dragged her over, collapsing onto the slick walkway with her trembling in his arms. The twins scrambled to his side immediately, throwing their small arms around him. The young woman sobbed into his chest, her body shaking violently. "You saved me," she whispered hoarsely. Liam's breath came ragged, his whole body trembling with the effort. He pressed the woman closer, his daughters clinging to his sides. "I just reminded you," he said softly, "that you're still worth saving." For a long moment, they sat there, three soaked, frightened figures huddled around a broken stranger beneath the storm. Eventually, the rain softened to a drizzle. Liam coaxed her gently to her feet. We can't stay out here. Come on, let's get warm. Too weak to argue, she nodded. Together they walked toward the covered bus shelter at the end of the bridge. Liam guided her onto the bench, then peeled off his coat and wrapped it around her trembling shoulders, ignoring his own soaked clothes. The twins climbed onto the bench beside her, their identical brown eyes filled with concern. Are you okay now? Lila asked, in her small, quavering voice. The young woman blinked at her, startled by the question. I don't know, she admitted. You don't have to be okay right now, Nora said, with the blunt honesty only a child could offer. You just have to not fall. Despite everything, a shaky laugh broke from the girl's lips. You're right. Liam stood nearby, gently rocking the twins as they leaned against him for comfort, his eyes fixed on the blurred lights of the city beyond the rain. He didn't ask questions yet. He didn't push. He just stayed present, steady, solid. After a while, her voice broke the silence. My name is Aurora, she said softly. Liam nodded. I'm Liam. These are my girls, Lila and Nora. The twins waved timidly, still pressed close to his side. Aurora clutched his coat tighter. Thank you for not letting go. You're welcome, Liam murmured. We all need someone to hold on sometimes. That night, as he led Aurora away from the bridge, the twins each holding one of his hands, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. He had set out to get his daughters safely home through the storm. Instead, the storm had brought them all to the edge, and somehow, together, they'd stepped back, and for the first time in a long while, Liam felt the faintest spark of something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope. The storm had eased by the time Liam guided Aurora and the twins across the bridge, but the air still smelled of rain, and the streets gleamed under the streetlights. His knee throbbed from the impact against the railing. His shirt clung to his skin, and his coat, now around Aurora's shoulders, dripped heavily at her sides. She walked beside him slowly, limping, her hair plastered against her face. Every few steps she seemed as if she might collapse, and every time Lila or Nora tightened their little hands around hers as if to keep her tethered to the ground. You need somewhere dry, Liam said, his tone firm but gentle. You can't stay out here tonight. Aurora shook her head. I don't want to be a burden. I'll find somewhere. A shelter, maybe. You nearly died out there, he replied without raising his voice. I'm not leaving you alone. Lila tugged her sleeve. You can come to our house, she said earnestly. We'll make cocoa, and we'll give you the star blanket, Nora added, nodding with complete seriousness. Aurora's lips parted, trembling as though she meant to argue, but the look in their small, trusting faces stopped her. She nodded faintly. Okay. Their home was nothing glamorous, just a small 2-bedroom apartment with creaky stairs and faded paint, but it carried a warmth that the woman hadn't felt in a long time. Liam unlocked the door and ushered her inside, where the smell of coffee and laundry soap lingered. The girls immediately ran about, switching on lamps, dragging out their favorite blanket, and proudly showing Aurora the drawings taped to the fridge. She stood in the doorway, dripping rainwater onto the mat, and whispered, It feels alive in here. Not much, Liam said, setting his keys on the counter. But it's home. He moved to the kitchen to start water boiling. The twins took it upon themselves to sit close to Aurora, peppering her with questions. Why were you on the bridge? Lila asked, too young to realize how direct it sounded. Were you lost? Nora added. Aurora clutched the coat tighter, her eyes glimmering. I wasn't lost. I thought maybe I didn't belong anywhere anymore. The twins glanced at each other, confused. But you belong here now, Lila said simply. Daddy says everybody belongs somewhere. Aurora's throat tightened, and no answer came. Just then, Liam set 3 mugs of cocoa on the coffee table, saving her. Enough interrogating, he said, though his voice carried no scolding, only care. Drink first, questions later. They drank in silence for a while. The heat seeped back into Aurora's frozen fingers, and the shaking in her shoulders finally eased. The girls soon curled against each other under the blanket, drifting into sleep right there on the couch. Liam carried them carefully into their room, tucking them in side by side, then returned to find Aurora staring into the last dregs of her cocoa. You don't have to explain, he said, sitting down across from her. But if you want to talk, I'll listen. Her voice was fragile, like glass about to crack. I used to think I had everything. Friends, recognition, money. But when it all fell apart, I realized there was no one left who cared whether I was alive or not. Tonight, on that bridge, I thought maybe it would be easier if I wasn't. Tears spilled unchecked down her cheeks. I didn't think anyone would notice. Liam didn't rush to comfort her with empty words. He leaned back, his voice steady. My girls would have noticed. They would have watched someone disappear in front of them. That's a scar no child should carry. Aurora flinched, covering her mouth with her hand. I didn't think of that. I wasn't thinking of anything, just the pain. I know, he said softly. But you're still here. That's what matters now. For a long time, the only sounds were the faint patter of rain on the window and the hum of the old refrigerator. Then she looked at him, her eyes searching. Why did you stop? You didn't know me. Because I've been there, he answered honestly. After their mother died, there were nights I didn't think I could go on. But every time I saw those 2 faces looking at me, I realized they needed me more than I needed to give up. When I saw you, I thought maybe you needed someone to remind you too. Her lips trembled again, but this time the corner of her mouth lifted in the faintest, reluctant smile. You sound so sure. I am, Liam said, because I know what it's like to want to give up, and I know it doesn't have to be the end. By the time the clock pushed past 2, exhaustion had overtaken her. He laid out a pillow and blanket on the couch. You'll be more comfortable here, he told her. She looked up at him, guilt still in her eyes. You've done too much already. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to, he said simply. Just rest. Aurora settled under the blanket, stiff at first, then gradually softer as her breathing slowed. Liam stood in the doorway for a moment, watching to make sure she was asleep, before heading to his own room. His knee still ached. His body longed for rest, but his mind wouldn't quiet. He didn't know who this woman really was or what story had brought her to that bridge. All he knew was that tonight she was safe, and maybe that was enough. When morning light filtered in, pale and clean after the storm, the twins were the first awake. They tiptoed into the living room, giggling softly when they saw Aurora still asleep. Instead of waking her, they tucked their stuffed animals around her like little guardians. Liam found them like that a few minutes later, smiling down at her as though she belonged there already. Aurora stirred, blinking awake, and for the first time since he'd seen her on that bridge, her eyes didn't hold only despair. They held the fragile beginning of something else, a thread of hope, thin but real. The days that followed were a blur of routine for Liam. Work at the garage, getting the twins to school, juggling the bills that always seemed to outpace his paychecks. Yet through it all, the memory of that night on the bridge clung to him like a shadow. He hadn't expected to see Aurora again. But 2 evenings later, when he came home with the girls, She was waiting outside his building, standing nervously with a paper bag in her arms. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, her voice soft, almost apologetic. The twins rushed forward before Liam could answer. "Aurora!" Lila cried. "You came back!" "We saved you, Coco," Nora added solemnly, though there was no evidence of such a thing. Aurora knelt, hugging them both tightly. When she looked up at Liam, her eyes were raw with something between hope and shame. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just felt safer here than anywhere else." Liam studied her for a moment, then opened the door. "Come inside." That evening, Aurora unpacked a paper bag at the table: pasta, sauce, fresh bread. She insisted on cooking, though the twins hovered so close they nearly stirred the pot themselves. Dinner was simple but warm, laughter bubbling between questions. The girls treated Aurora as though she had always been part of their circle, showing her drawings from school, asking if she could braid their hair, and proudly teaching her the silly rhyme they used to remember multiplication. When the girls were finally in bed, Liam found Aurora cleaning dishes in the tiny kitchen. She didn't turn when he entered. "I know this is strange," she said, "but when I left here that night, I kept thinking about the way your girls looked at me. Like I mattered, like I wasn't just some broken thing in the rain." She set a plate in the rack. "No one's looked at me like that in a long time." "You do matter," Liam said. "You just forgot. Happens to the best of us." Her hand stilled in the water. "You make it sound so simple." "It isn't," he admitted. "But sometimes the hard things are the most important." Aurora finally looked at him, her eyes rimmed red but steadier than before. For the first time, he saw not just the broken girl from the bridge, but a woman trying, against all odds, to find her way back. She started coming by more often after that. Some days she brought small treats for the twins. Other times she simply sat with them, watching cartoons or helping with homework. Slowly, the girls wove her into their lives, as naturally as if she'd always belonged. One Saturday morning, while Liam was fixing a loose cabinet door, Aurora sat at the table helping the twins cut paper snowflakes. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching in her hair, and for a fleeting moment, Liam let himself imagine that this was what normal looked like: a house with more voices, more laughter, and a sense of balance he hadn't felt since before the fire that took his wife. But reality lingered close. Aurora still carried secrets. Late one night, when the twins were asleep, Liam found her sitting on the fire escape, her face turned to the city lights. "You're running from something," he said quietly, stepping out beside her. She flinched, but didn't deny it. "From everything," she whispered. "From the weight of people's expectations, from mistakes I made, from being someone I wasn't strong enough to keep being." "Sounds lonely." "It is," she admitted. Then, after a long pause, "You should know the truth. I'm not just some random girl. My family, they have money, a lot. I was supposed to inherit part of the company one day, but I couldn't breathe under all of it. The pressure, the eyes. So I walked away. Or maybe I fell. I don't even know anymore." Liam leaned on the railing. "So you're a runaway millionaire?" Her laugh was small, startled. "Something like that." "Doesn't change what I saw that night," he said. "Doesn't change who you are sitting here." Aurora turned to him, searching his face. "You're not going to ask me for anything?" "No," he said simply. "I don't want what you had. I just want to make sure you don't end up back on that bridge." Her eyes shone, and for once, she didn't look away. In the days that followed, the bond grew stronger. The twins adored her, dragging her into every game, every drawing contest, every bedtime story. Liam watched her with them, saw the way her laughter came easier, the way her shoulders lost their constant tension. She belonged, even if she didn't fully believe it yet. One evening, when Liam came home tired from a double shift, he found the apartment transformed. Aurora and the twins had strung paper stars across the living room, the couch piled with blankets, the table set with soup and bread. "Surprise!" the girls shouted, and Aurora laughed behind them, a sound bright enough to cut through his exhaustion. Later that night, after the girls had fallen asleep under their blanket fort, Aurora lingered by the door. "You saved me that night," she said softly. "But it's not just that. You and the girls. You keep saving me. Every day." Liam's chest tightened. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words caught in his throat. All he could manage was, "We're glad you're here." Aurora smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. "So am I." And though nothing had been said outright, though her past still loomed and his future was still a daily fight, Liam felt it in that moment, a shift, a quiet turning of the tide. Aurora wasn't just a guest anymore. She was becoming part of their story. The first snow of the season dusted the rooftops white, and the twins pressed their noses against the frosty window, squealing at the sight. Aurora stood behind them, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea, a faint smile curving her lips. She had been living between Liam's place and her own small rented room for a month now, but the girls spoke of her as though she were already part of their family. "Snow angels later?" Nora asked. "Snow angels, snowmen, snow everything," Lila chimed in. Aurora laughed softly. "Deal." For a moment, the apartment felt like something she hadn't experienced in years home. But the peace didn't last. That evening, as Liam was setting the table for dinner, there was a knock at the door. When he opened it, a tall man in an expensive coat stood there, his expression clipped and formal. His eyes flicked past Liam and landed on Aurora. "Miss Bennet," he said smoothly, "your father has been worried sick. We've been searching everywhere." Aurora froze, her mug nearly slipping from her hand. "Marcus," she whispered. Liam glanced between them. "You know him?" "He's my family's attorney," Aurora admitted, her voice tight. Marcus stepped inside uninvited. "You've been reckless, Aurora, disappearing like this, hiding among strangers. Your father insists you return immediately. The board is waiting. Your inheritance, your responsibilities, they won't wait forever." The twins looked from one adult to the other, sensing the tension. "She's not hiding," Nora said defiantly. "She's with us." Marcus's brows knit together. "Children, this is not your concern. It is if you're trying to take her away." Lila shot back, her tiny fists clenched. Aurora set down her mug with shaking hands. "Marcus, I can't. Not yet. I'm not ready to walk back into that world." "You don't have a choice," he said firmly. "Your father demands it." Liam's jaw tightened. "She has every choice. She's not a piece of property to be collected." Marcus looked him up and down with a sneer. "And who exactly are you? Some mechanic playing hero?" "I'm the one who kept her alive when your world broke her," Liam snapped. "That's who I am." Aurora gasped, caught between fear and relief. For once, someone had spoken the words she'd never dared to say aloud. Marcus left soon after, muttering that her father would not tolerate this much longer. When the door closed, Aurora slumped against the wall, trembling. Liam steadied her. "You don't have to go back if you don't want to," he said. "But they'll never stop," she whispered. "They'll chase me until I break again." "Then let them chase shadows," Liam replied. Because here, with us, you're safe. The twins rushed forward, each grabbing one of her hands. We won't let them take you, Lila declared. You're part of us now, Nora added fiercely. Aurora's eyes filled with tears, and she dropped to her knees, pulling the girls into a tight embrace. You don't know how much that means to me, she whispered. In the days that followed, Marcus returned twice more, each time pressing harder. But each time Aurora stood a little taller, her voice a little stronger. She wasn't ready to reclaim her title or her fortune, but she was ready to choose her own path, and she had already chosen where she wanted to walk it. One night, after the girls had fallen asleep in a tangle of blankets and stuffed animals, Aurora and Liam sat quietly at the table. The snow fell thick outside, muffling the city's usual chaos. You could lose everything, Liam said quietly. I already lost everything once, she replied, and none of it mattered. The only thing that matters is what I've found here. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. You gave me something money never could. A family, a reason to stay. He looked at her for a long moment, then squeezed her hand. And you gave us something too. My girls laugh more now. They believe in more. They believe in you. Aurora's throat tightened. Do you? Yes, he said simply. I do. The months rolled forward. Aurora found small ways to give back, helping the twins with school projects, organizing the bills Liam struggled to keep up with, even finding part-time design work she could do remotely. She was no longer just the girl he had pulled from the bridge. She was a partner, a caretaker, and a light in the home they were building together. When spring finally came, the four of them walked across the Brooklyn Bridge once more. This time there was no storm, only sunlight spilling across the water. Aurora paused at the spot where she had nearly fallen, her hand tightening around Liam's. The twins darted ahead, giggling, their laughter echoing like bells. I never thought I'd come back here, she admitted. You didn't come back alone, Liam said. Aurora looked at him, tears glistening in her eyes, and then at the two little girls who had saved her just as surely as he had. For the first time, she felt the weight of her past lift, replaced with something steadier, something real. Hope, family, belonging. Thank you, she whispered, for not letting me go, for showing me I still had a place in this world. Liam smiled faintly. You saved yourself. We just held on until you remembered how. As the twins ran back, grabbing both her hands, Aurora laughed a sound full of life, full of promise. And in that moment, with the sun on her face and their fingers tangled together, she knew she had found what she'd been searching for all along. Not wealth, not power, not escape. Home.